That evening, I came home earlier than usual. I hadn't planned it. I'd forgotten my laptop charger. Nothing more than a practical mistake. But mistakes, I would later learn, have a strange way of revealing the truth. I wasn't supposed to be there at that hour. And yet, because everything began to unravel. It was nearly 6:40 p.m. when I stepped into the building. The December air was sharp, cold enough to burn the skin if you stayed still for too long. I remember fumbling with my keys, trying not to drop the bag of groceries I'd picked up on the way, her favorite wine, a baguette, the kind of impulsive peace offering you bring after a tiring day, even if no fight ever took place. My plan was simple. Grab the charger, surprise her with a quiet dinner, maybe watch a movie and reset whatever had been quietly drifting between us. But the moment I opened the door, I knew something was off. The hallway light was on, but the rest of the apartment was cloaked in shadows. Music played faintly in the background, jazz low and slow. Not something she ever played when she was alone. The scent hit me before I even turned the corner. A mix of cheap red wine and perfume I didn't recognize. Not the subtle floral kind she usually wore. This one was thicker, darker, almost oily. It clung to the air like smoke after a fire. I walked into the kitchen without calling out. Something in me wanted to stay quiet, to see first. There, on the counter, sat 2 wine glasses. One was empty and spotless. The other stood by the sink, hastily rinsed but still stained. Lipstick traced the rim, not hers. It was a plum tone I had never seen her wear. Too bold, too dramatic for her muted taste. Next to it, a paper napkin, slightly crumpled. Scribbled in the corner were 2 letters, K.S. They meant nothing to me. Not initials from anyone in her circle, not anyone I could connect to. Then I heard her footsteps. Quick, uneven. She walked out from the bedroom in a house robe, the silk one I'd bought her last Christmas. Phone in hand, smile flickering like it wasn't ready to appear but had to. Her eyebrows rose slightly when she saw me standing in the kitchen. "You're back early?" she asked, voice higher than usual. But not alarmed, just mildly startled, as if the world had shifted slightly but could still be balanced. I told her I'd forgotten my charger, that I wanted to make dinner, that I brought her favorite wine. I watched her eyes scan the counter, saw the subtle shift in her expression when she noticed the glass I hadn't touched, the napkin I hadn't moved. Her response came fast. "Oh yeah, that's from earlier. Josh stopped by. Work thing. We were prepping for the Monday call." Josh. I'd heard the name before. A new hire at her firm, someone from marketing. According to her, he was weird but harmless. Friendly in an annoying way. I remember asking once if he had a thing for her, and she'd laughed. "No chance. He's awkward," she had said. But now her body language had changed. She moved quickly to the sink, picking up the rinsed glass and washing it again, more thoroughly, as if that would erase it. I asked her why she didn't tell me he was coming by. She said it was last minute, a short visit, that he just wanted feedback on a pitch. Her tone was casual, practiced, too smooth. "And the wine?" I asked. "Did you open it for him?" She paused. "Just a second. It was already open. Just poured a little. Didn't want to be rude." "But we just bought that bottle last week," I said. "It hadn't been opened." She smiled too wide and shrugged. "Then I guess I'm remembering wrong. What's the big deal?" "What's the big deal?" I should have walked away, but something made me stay still. I turned and pointed to the napkin. "What's K.S.?" She glanced at it, then back at me. Her face didn't even twitch. "I have no idea. Probably his. He doodles on everything." "You're seriously going into detective mode over a napkin now?" The words stung more than I expected. Not because they were cruel, but because they were so easily deployed. As if this conversation had been rehearsed in her mind. The calm tone, the gentle accusation, the hint that I was the one digging for drama. I told her it wasn't about the napkin. It was about the lipstick, about the smell, about how none of it made sense. That's when her voice changed. "I can't believe we're doing this," she said. "You come home early, and instead of saying hi, You're interrogating me like I've done something wrong. I tried to speak, but she cut me off. Told me she felt disrespected, that I clearly didn't trust her, that maybe the problem wasn't the wine or the visit or the napkin. Maybe it was me. Maybe I was too controlling. Maybe I needed to relax. Maybe I was projecting. She didn't yell. She didn't curse. But every sentence was a step back into defense, a calculated maneuver to push the blame across the table and place it in my hands. It was stunning, really, how she managed to flip the script so quickly. I felt myself deflate. Not because I believed her, not really, but because I didn't have enough proof. Because I didn't know what K.S. meant. Because I hadn't seen anything definitive. Just fragments, clues, smudges of a picture I wasn't yet allowed to see clearly. I said I'd come back later, that I had a headache, that I needed some air. She didn't stop me, just nodded and turned away, as if none of it mattered. And maybe, to her, it didn't. I remember walking down the stairs with my charger in one hand and the bottle of wine in the other. I didn't want to drink it anymore. I didn't even want to go back home. I sat in my car for almost 40 minutes, engine off, staring at the dashboard, playing the conversation back in my head. Word by word, tone by tone. She didn't panic. She didn't flinch. But she looked relieved when I left. And that, more than the lipstick or the napkin or the scent in the air, was what haunted me. Because innocent people don't look relieved when the questions stop. After that evening, everything started to move differently. Not around me, within me. It wasn't just the wine glass or the napkin or the lipstick. It was the silence that followed. The way she smiled the next morning like nothing had happened. The way she made eggs and asked if I wanted juice, as if we hadn't just brushed up against something dangerous the night before. I didn't accuse her again. I didn't bring it up. That would have made me seem obsessive, paranoid, unstable. And that's the last thing I wanted to hand her. But in silence, I began to observe. And in observation, I began to remember. It started with the phone. Months earlier, we used to keep our phones face up on the coffee table, side by side, while watching shows. Hers was always buzzing, group chats, friends, her sister, her office manager. She had nothing to hide. That changed slowly. First, it was placing her phone screen down. Then, taking it with her to the bathroom. Then, do not disturb mode, even in the middle of the day. She used to complain about work emails. Now I never saw her respond to one around me. She claimed she needed to separate work and life. But somehow work always pulled her away from the table, the couch, the conversation. Then there were the calls. She took them on the balcony. Always the balcony. Even in freezing weather. I'd walk into the room and see her pacing outside. The door closed, her voice muffled. When I'd ask who it was, she'd say the usual. Her boss, her coworker, her crazy friend from college. But I noticed something else. She never used names anymore. Just they, someone, or a person from work. They, slippery, designed to give nothing away. Her wardrobe changed too, subtly at first. The casual jeans and soft cardigans gave way to tighter dresses. Deeper necklines, new boots I'd never seen her order. She said she was just dressing for confidence. But it didn't feel like confidence. It felt like someone building a second version of themselves, one that lived just beyond my view. I tried not to fall into the trap of jealousy. I told myself I was being dramatic. I even Googled articles about relationship paranoia, trying to convince myself I was the problem. But the signs didn't stop, they multiplied. She started having girls' nights every Thursday, then Tuesdays, then the occasional Saturday. I asked who she was with and she'd rattle off the same 3 names. Sarah, Amy, Jen. Always those 3. But when I asked what they did, she never had any photos. No stories. No **TS. No silly recaps. Just vague smiles and a "you wouldn't care." But I did care. I cared too much. One night, I looked through her Instagram stories. Nothing. Not even a repost. Just a blurry photo of wine glasses. No faces. No tags. Another time, she posted a story from a rooftop bar, hours after she told me she was home with a headache. She said it was an old photo, and she'd posted it late just to clear her drafts. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But belief isn't the same as peace. Then came the trip. She had a 3-day work event in Phoenix. Conference for mid-level managers in her company's region. I helped her pack. She left on a Wednesday morning early. She didn't call that night, nor the next, nor the next. When I texted, she said she was exhausted, that the schedule was intense, that the hotel Wi-Fi barely worked, that she was too tired to talk. But on Friday night, she sent me a photo, her in front of the conference banner, holding a coffee. I looked at it for a long time. Then I noticed something strange. The photo was exactly the same as the one she'd sent during her last trip. Same angle, same outfit, same everything. I reverse-searched the image and realized it had been taken nearly 6 months ago, at a different event. She had reused the photo. Why? When I confronted her, she brushed it off with a laugh. I didn't feel like taking new pictures, she said. What's the difference? The difference was trust. And it was eroding fast. One night, she came home from another colleague dinner. I didn't ask any questions. Just watched. She didn't speak much. Took off her heels and left them by the door. Went straight to bed. No hug. No glance. She lay there, eyes open. Then turned her back to me without a word. That night I barely slept. Something was happening. Something I wasn't supposed to see. And the more I acted like everything was fine, the more I was giving her space to keep doing it. I checked the shared calendar on her laptop. We used to sync it to stay organized. Most of her entries were now marked private. When I asked, she said they were work meetings and didn't concern me. But why the secrecy? Why the need to hide things that had once been part of our rhythm? She also stopped bringing me to events. It's just co-workers. You'd be bored. It's a short thing. At first, I accepted it. But soon, she stopped inviting me anywhere altogether. Her world no longer overlapped with mine. And I realized something quietly devastating. I wasn't part of her life anymore. I was adjacent to it. One evening, I got a text from her phone, but it wasn't meant for me. It said, "Can't wait to see you again." I replied with a question mark. Seconds later, she sent a long explanation about how it was meant for Sarah. "She's going through a tough time," she wrote. I meant to send her encouragement. She even called to sound flustered, like it was a real mistake. But her voice was too polished. She was good at this, really good, and it was starting to wear me down. The little things became heavier. Her delayed responses. Her charged phone that somehow always ran out of battery when I needed to reach her. The sudden music taste shift. New playlists with songs in languages she didn't understand. But that made her smile when she thought I wasn't looking. Even the way she touched me changed. Less often. Less warm. Mechanical, if anything. Her affection had a clock behind it, like it had to fit into a tight schedule. Like she was giving me my share out of obligation, then disappearing again. One night, she came home smelling like cologne. Not hers, not mine. I pointed it out. She laughed and said it was from a coworker who gave her a hug. "He wears way too much of it," she said. "Everyone jokes about it." But the scent stayed on her jacket until morning. It wasn't that I had proof. Not yet. But what I had was a mosaic of strange inconsistencies. Flickers of a reality that didn't match the script she was feeding me. And when you're being lied to, the most dangerous part isn't the lie. It's the slow, corrosive effect it has on your ability to trust your own mind. You start doubting yourself, rewriting your memories to fit someone else's version. You become your own gaslighter, trying to survive inside a narrative that keeps rejecting you. But I couldn't ignore it anymore. She was slipping into another life and closing the door behind her. And though she hadn't confessed anything, I knew the truth was already there. In the silences, in the edits, in the shadows where love used to be. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a performance. And I wasn't in the cast anymore. It didn't come with a scream. Not with a door slam or a dramatic confrontation. Came quietly, almost gently, through an accident I wasn't meant to see. And that somehow made it worse. She left her laptop open on the dining table. That was it. No password screen, no minimized windows, no forced shutdowns. Just an open display. It was early Saturday morning. She had stepped into the shower. I remember the sound of water echoing down the hallway. I was passing through the room, coffee mug in hand, when I saw the screen still glowing. I didn't mean to pry, but something about it stopped me. Her messaging app was open. Not email, this was something else. An internal system they used at work connected to mobile. I recognized the layout because she'd once asked me for help setting up notifications. I saw a chat with someone saved only as L. No full name, just that single letter. And unlike her conversations with coworkers, short, clipped, functional, this thread stretched endlessly. Long messages, paragraphs, photos, digital int asterisk Macy laid bare in black text on a white screen. I told myself I would only read one message. Just one. I broke that promise within seconds. At the top of the thread, a photo. It was taken at that rooftop holiday party she claimed was mandatory attendance. She had told me it would be brief. Just drinks. No plus ones. Too many clients to network with. But here was the truth. In the photo, she stood next to him. Not smiling for the camera. Not casually talking. They were seated at a corner table. Her hand rested on his thigh. His fingers wrapped gently around her wrist. The kind of photo you take only when both people believe they won't be caught. I recognized her dress, dark green, off-shoulder. The one she had asked me if she looked too festive in before she left that evening. I told her she looked beautiful. I kissed her cheek. She smelled like vanilla and mint. And now here she was, in a captured moment I was never meant to see. Below the photo, his message. I still can't believe how fast things escalated that night. Every time I close my eyes, I feel your breath on me. Her reply came minutes later. I hadn't felt wanted like that in, I don't even know how long. You reminded me I'm alive. I didn't scroll further yet. I sat down instead, slowly, without meaning to. My coffee was still in my hand, going cold. Then I saw another message, from a different chat. This one labeled K.R. Not a man I recognized. But the tone was the same. Pleading, urgent. Please just tell me if I have a chance. I'll wait if I have to. She had replied, don't make this harder. I told you, things are complicated. Complicated. That word again. A third chat was even stranger. Labeled only with a heart emoji and a nickname, Bumblebear. I didn't even know what that meant. But the messages told me everything I needed to know. Still dreaming of your voice. Still playing that voicemail on repeat. Her reply? Stop LOL. I'll start missing you again. Again. So there were three. At least three. That I knew of. 3 people who believed they had a claim to her time, her affection, her body. And I was the one paying the rent, grocery shopping, fixing the damn shower drain when it clogged last week. I was the one making excuses for her silence. Explaining her moods. Defending her to our friends when she skipped yet another dinner. It wasn't just betrayal. It was architecture. Each thread had its own version of her. With L, she was flirtatious and bold. With K.R, she was conflicted and emotional. With Bumblebear, she was playful, lighthearted. Sending him audio messages. Inside jokes, memes they shared. Different masks. Same face beneath. I felt like a stranger inside my own home. Then came the part that broke something fundamental. In one message, L asked, does he suspect? Her reply, not yet. He's sweet, but distracted. I think I still have time. Still have time. It didn't even sound like guilt. Just logistics. A timeline. Like she was waiting for the moment to transition. Like I was a temporary state of housing. A lease she planned to end without giving notice. I closed the laptop gently. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I just sat there, coffee forgotten, listening to the water running behind the bathroom door. Every drop echoed like a countdown. When she came out, wrapped in a towel, she looked surprised to see me sitting there. She asked if I was okay. I said I was just thinking. She smiled, that same soft, performative smile, and kissed my cheek. And all I could think about was the man who had written, "I still feel your breath on me." The next few days were slow-motion agony. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I needed time, space to breathe. But everything I did now felt wrong. Her voice grated. Her laugh sounded like someone else's. Even the way she stirred her tea felt like acting. I watched her closely. I started seeing what I had missed before, how often she checked her phone under the table, how quickly she replied when it buzzed, no matter the time. The sudden lock screen changes, the new passwords, the hidden folders, the way she jumped when I walked into the room too quietly. She was already gone. I wasn't a partner anymore. I was an obstacle to be managed. I tried to eat. I tried to sleep. But the images wouldn't leave. Her hand on his leg. Her messages filled with breathless longing. Her soft voice saying to me, "You're being insecure." While somewhere else, to someone else, she said, "You make me feel alive." And yet I didn't rage. I didn't explode. I simply went still, a dangerous kind of stillness. The kind that comes not from calm but from restraint. From the unbearable awareness that truth has arrived and you no longer get to unknow it. She was cheating. With 3 people. Possibly more. And not in a one-time lapse of judgment, but in sustained, compartmentalized roles that she performed like an actress in a play where I wasn't even listed in the credits. And I had loved her. I had protected her from her own family's criticism, helped her through panic attacks, paid off her student debt, given her space when she said she needed to figure herself out, watched her reinvent herself without asking questions, believed in her when no one else did. And what did I get? I think I still have time. I didn't plan revenge. I didn't call the other men. I didn't even save the messages. I didn't need to. They were burned into me now, each word a tattoo under my ribs. This wasn't just a betrayal of marriage. It was a betrayal of time, of effort, of belief, of every shared inside joke, every road trip playlist, every memory that now felt poisoned by revision. I stopped trying to sleep in the same bed. I told her I had back pain, needed the couch. She accepted it without protest. Maybe she preferred it. At night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, hearing echoes of a conversation I hadn't yet had. And I knew something for certain now. I would never get a confession. I would never hear her say, "Yes, I lied. Yes, I fell in love with someone else." No, she would twist, spin, minimize, redirect. That was her talent, making the truth feel optional. So the burden was mine alone, to hold the truth, to decide what to do with it, to determine whether my silence would protect peace or invite more rot. And deep down, I already knew the answer. Because once you see behind the mask, you can't unsee it. And love without trust isn't love at all. The message arrived on a Tuesday afternoon at 2:17 p.m. While I was sitting at my desk pretending to work. The number wasn't saved. No name, no context. Just a single line that made my stomach tighten before I even finished reading it. "I think you deserve to know the truth about her." For a full minute, I didn't open the message thread. I stared at the notification like it might disappear if I ignored it long enough. My first instinct was denial. Spam. A scam. A mistake. Anything but what it actually was. When I finally opened it, the man introduced himself. No dramatic language. No insults. Just a careful, almost apologetic tone. He said he'd been seeing her for several months. He said he hadn't known she was married at first. According to her, we had broken up but were still figuring out logistics. He believed her because she sounded convincing, because she always does. He explained how he first realized something was wrong. One evening, when he came to our apartment while I was supposedly out late. He noticed my shoes by the door. Men's shoes. Clearly worn. Clearly not forgotten. He asked her about them, and she laughed it off, saying they belonged to a friend who'd crashed there weeks earlier. He said the explanation felt thin, but he wanted to believe it. He stayed longer than he should have because she kept promising clarity. She told him she was ending things with me, that she just needed time, that I was emotionally unstable and might react badly, that she was being careful for everyone's safety. He admitted that part should have made him walk away immediately, but by then, he was already invested. He wrote that he eventually left after realizing he wasn't the only other man, that there were others besides him, that she rotated affection like a schedule, never overlapping too much, always keeping just enough distance to avoid exposure. He said he felt used, ashamed, disposable, and then came the line that cut deepest. I don't know what hurt more, realizing she lied to me, or realizing how easily she erased you. I put the phone down and stared at the wall, not in anger, not even sadness, just a hollow, suspended feeling, like my body had briefly forgotten gravity. That evening, while she was out meeting a client, I did something I had never done before. I searched her closet thoroughly, not out of desperation, out of clarity. I wasn't hoping to find anything. I was confirming what I already knew. Behind a stack of old scarves, I found a small flash drive. Plain, black, no label. I didn't recognize it. It wasn't mine. I plugged it into my laptop. Inside were audio files, dated, organized, named carefully. Each file was a conversation between us, our arguments, or rather, fragments of them. I listened to the first one, started in the middle of a sentence. My voice, raised, frustrated. Her voice was softer, trembling slightly. The beginning of the argument was missing. So was the end. Only the parts that made me sound volatile remained. Each recording was like that, carefully trimmed, selectively edited. There were timestamps, months old. Some from arguments I barely remembered. Others from moments I thought we had resolved peacefully. In one, I heard myself sigh deeply and say I was tired of being shut out. The next file cut directly to her crying, saying she felt unsafe. No context, no lead-up, just emotional impact. This wasn't accidental recording. This was preparation. She wasn't documenting our relationship for memory. She was building a narrative, a contingency plan, a file folder designed to protect herself if things ever turned legal, or public, or inconvenient. I sat there for over an hour, listening to my own voice rearranged into something unrecognizable. Not because I didn't recognize the words, but because I recognized the intent behind the edits. Every file positioned her as fragile, me as unstable, her as surviving, me as threatening. It was chilling. This wasn't emotional chaos. It wasn't impulsive cheating. It wasn't confusion or loneliness. It was strategy. She came home later that night cheerful. Light, asked if I wanted takeout, kissed my cheek, told me a funny story about her coworker's dog. I nodded, smiled, played my role. But something inside me had shifted permanently. I was no longer inside a relationship. I was inside a case study. I thought about the man who had messaged me, about how he noticed my shoes and understood the truth faster than I had, about how easily she convinced him I didn't really exist, just like she'd convinced me that my doubts were imaginary. I didn't respond to his message right away. I didn't know what to say. Thank you felt wrong. I'm sorry felt insufficient. So I left it unread for 2 days, carrying his words with me like a sealed envelope I didn't yet know how to open. What haunted me wasn't the betrayal anymore. It was the realization that I had been living next to someone who was always one step ahead. Recording, editing, preparing exits while telling me we were working on us. Managing multiple narratives simultaneously, never letting them collide. I wasn't married to a liar. I was married to a planner. And suddenly everything made sense. The calm deflections, the lack of panic, the ease with which she reframed reality, the way she never begged, never pleaded, never panicked. Because panic is for people without backups, without options. She always had another door open. That night, I slept without dreams for the first time in weeks. Not because I felt peace, but because my mind finally stopped trying to reconcile contradictions. The picture was complete now. Ugly, precise, undeniable. I wasn't dealing with heartbreak. I was dealing with design. And once you understand that, you stop asking why. You start asking what comes next. I hadn't spoken to Nicole in over a year. We were never close. She was always blunt, younger by 3 years, and unapologetically suspicious of everyone. The kind of person who'd scan your face and say what she saw, unfiltered. At Christmas dinner last year, after too much wine and not enough patience, she called me spineless in front of everyone. Said I let her sister walk all over me, and then smiled about it like a trained dog. I remember the tension, the silence at the table, the way her mother had gasped and told her to shut her mouth. My wife had defended me back then, or at least she pretended to. Told Nicole to apologize. Told me to ignore her. Said Nicole was dramatic and still processing her own breakup. So when she messaged me out of nowhere, just a simple, "Can we meet?" I almost didn't reply, but something in me said yes. We met at a quiet cafe on a Thursday afternoon. She was already seated when I arrived, her black coat draped over the chair beside her, a cup of untouched coffee in front of her, steam barely visible in the air. She didn't hug me, just nodded. "I know," she said. That's how the conversation began. Not with pleasantries, not with apologies. Just those 2 words, "I know." I asked what she meant. She reached into her purse and pulled out her phone, unlocking it, scrolling carefully. She placed it between us, the screen angled toward me. One by one, she showed me **TS, messages, photos, saved voice notes, but they weren't recent. They were from years ago, from her sister's last relationship. A different man, a different city, but the same structure. "I didn't see it at the time," Nicole said, her voice low, "but it's the same playbook." The man's name was Darren. He had dated my wife, then her girlfriend, for nearly 3 years. Nicole never liked him, she admitted. Too passive, too trusting, always chasing validation. She said my wife used to record their arguments just like she did with me, that she once found an entire spreadsheet of conversations, categorized by theme: guilt, control, escape. Her sister had created templates for exit strategies. I didn't speak, couldn't. My mouth was dry. Nicole kept going. She showed me a note written by her sister, one Nicole had stumbled upon on a shared computer. It read like a monologue, possibly something she had planned to read aloud, possibly a document to send if things went wrong. It began with, "If he reacts poorly, stay calm. If he begs, say you need space. If he threatens to expose you, remind him of your evidence." Evidence. Nicole tapped the screen. "This wasn't a meltdown," she said. "This was a process." I nodded. Slowly, carefully. My heart was beating so loudly I could barely hear the cafe around me. Then she looked me in the eye, something she hadn't done in years, and said, "I thought maybe it'd be different with you. You were the first one who seemed steady, kind. You listened." I figured maybe that would ground her, make her stop. I asked why she was telling me now. She sighed. "Because I know what happens next. She's going to make you look unstable, like the obsessed husband who imagined everything. She'll twist your silence into guilt, your confusion into aggression. She did it before. She'll do it again." I just thought, maybe if you knew it wasn't just you, it'd help. I wanted to thank her, but I couldn't. I wasn't ready to feel gratitude. Not from someone who had once laughed while tearing me down. I asked her why she hadn't warned me earlier. Nicole hesitated. "I wanted to," she said, "but then I saw how happy you looked, and I told myself maybe, just maybe, this time she was different. Maybe it was love. Maybe she'd changed." She hadn't. Nicole slid the phone back into her bag and took a sip of her cold coffee. Then she stood up and left. Just like that. No goodbyes. No advice. Just a final glance that felt like closure. I sat there for a long time after she left, staring at the sugar packets on the table, replaying every moment I had rewritten in her favor. All the times I told myself I was imagining things. All the times I let her steer the narrative. And now it was clear, I hadn't been chosen. I'd been assigned. She hadn't fallen for me. She'd recruited me, because I was stable, predictable, easy to disarm. I didn't yell. I didn't cheat. I didn't snoop. I worked long hours, paid the bills, smiled when things got awkward, forgave too quickly, forgot too easily. I was the perfect temporary anchor, until she was ready to cast off again. That night, I didn't speak to her. I made dinner, ate quietly, loaded the dishwasher. She was on the couch, scrolling through her phone, laughing at something she wouldn't show me. She asked if I wanted to watch something. I said I had work. At midnight, I watched her fall asleep, peacefully, as if nothing in her world was broken, as if she hadn't left a trail of hollow men behind her. And that's when it finally made sense. I wasn't betrayed by accident. I was used on purpose. And the scariest part wasn't that she lied. It was how effortless it had become for her. How quickly she adapted, recalibrated, moved forward. Like changing channels on a remote. The person I loved had never existed. Just a series of performances. A sequence of projections shaped to fit whoever stood in front of her. She had a role for every man. And I was just the next in line. That realization didn't bring anger. It brought stillness. A sharp, cold clarity that cut deeper than rage ever could. Because once you understand someone is performing, every word becomes a script. Every touch a cue. Every smile a calculated act to keep the lights on just long enough for the next scene change. And I was done playing my part. Cleaning out the drawer by the bed, I found a small flip phone. Dusty, without apps, with only initials in the contact list. I charged it, hands shaking. Inside were texts she'd sent to men I didn't know. He's starting to suspect. You'll be the only one soon. Each message painted a picture, me as a fading figure, them as the upgrade. She had built her world like a chessboard, and I was just another piece. The phone didn't contain chaos. It revealed order. A schedule. A system. None of us were loved. We were placed. 2 weeks later, I received a text. I'm leaving. He's in the shower. Wish me luck. It wasn't meant for me. She had sent it by mistake. I didn't reply. I turned off my phone, walked outside, and kept walking. The next morning, I sent one message. No blame, no questions, just silence and goodbye. Then I rearranged my life, piece by piece, without her. For the first time in years, I wasn't surviving her version of me. I was becoming mine.